Hi everyone, so today is another brew day, and what I'm going to do is my usual stuff. I thought about doing all sorts of different other grains and what have you, but I'm going to stick with what I know because I've got a new yeast which is another Mangroves Jack, and that is M44, and it's a US West Coast yeast. So I'm going to do my same brew and add that yeast in and see how it goes. Now the big plan for today is to try out my new filtration idea, which is when you look at other people doing boils and brews, they recirculate from a little tap out the bottom of the mash tun. And well, I haven't got that yet, but what they have in the bottom is a false bottom. And I've looked online, and there's a few people who've done their own. And my idea is to just try out this false bottom, and then at the end of the mash, well, towards the end of the mash, I'm not sure yet, I'm sort of experimenting with it, I'm going to transfer the grains to another pan and then just pour the water through the grains again, see if that clears it up any. I'll use maybe a jug or something like that to do it, and see if that is as good a way as recirculating for me with my basic stock pot and limited brewing knowledge. But let me just show you my false bottom that I've got. So this is a 23 centimetre pan, which is 9 inches, something like that. And I've created a false bottom, and there it is. So what it actually is a splash guard for a large frying pan. And I've got its brother. Its brother is there. You can see the difference in size. It just came in a pack of 2. So what I've done is I've cut the handle off there, and I've sanded it down so it's smooth. And then I've been to a local hardware shop and I bought some 3-inch coach bolts. Well, they came in a pack of 6, which is handy because it means I can have a nut and a washer on either side. So there's a nut and a washer there, and a nut and a washer there on a 3-inch or 75mm bolt, and it's 23 centimetres across exactly, which is a perfect fit. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you. I'll put it in. You see, it's actually quite a tight fit, but I can push it down, and there it sits on the bottom. So it's sitting about 2.5 inches, because I am thinking of putting a tap on there. I've got in my basket on eBay one of those Q-Max hole cutters, a ball valve, a stainless steel ball valve, and then a bazooka filter in my basket. So that's my next sort of evolution of it. But for now, I'm going to have a try with my false bottom and then my recirculation idea. Well, false bottom is in, water is in. I was just heating it up, and then it suddenly occurred to me that I had missed one humongous factor that I didn't think of, and that is the amount of space that the false bottom takes up. So what I've got is about 1 inch of water above the false bottom. So 1.25 kilos of grain isn't going to go in that. So I think for the future, I'm going to take the false bottom out now, but for the future I might just have to make my brews a little bit bigger, and maybe ferment in a bigger bucket and just have a few more bottles. That's what experiments are for, I suppose. So, but we'll carry on. I've got my grain. The water's in there. My grain, as normal, is 1 kilo of Maris Otter, our British 2-row, and then 250 grams of Vienna malt. Mash at 66-ish for an hour. Then I'm going to do my bonkers recirculate thing, see if that works, and then we'll boil it and we'll cool it down, and then yeast it, and off we go. Okay, so mash time is up. That's an hour, and now in most YouTube videos what you'll see is people take the grains out, which I'm going to do in a second, and then they'll let them drain for 10 or 15 minutes, and they put no more heat into the wort. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that 10 or 15 minutes to recirculate the wort through the grain and see if I can clear it. So I've got a separate pan. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use a colander, and then I'll just jug in water over the grain in that second pan, and I'll just keep returning it and then pouring it back through, and then I'll get my pre-boil volume, and then I'll sparge the grain, what's left there, and see what comes out. Okay, so I've put my grains in a colander over that second pan, and I've got approximately, well, about 5 litres of water there, which is a bit odd. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer some water from this pan through the grain bed into that pan, and then transfer what's in there back into there, and keep going for, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes or so, and then I will add some sparge water to about 7.25 litres, and then I'll start my boil. Okay, hopeful that we'll get it a little bit clearer. That's my first pass done, and what I've done now is I've transferred the grain from this pan back into this pan, and then we'll put the wort back through that way and see if it makes any difference and clears it. What I've done is disturb the grain bed in any way, because I think what happens is when you do it in a proper, in a proper way, not like in a buffoonery way like I'm doing, you don't touch the grain bed, and it sort of gradually settles, and as it settles, all the particles in the wort come out, and that's how it clears. So we'll keep on doing. Okay, so filtration experiment over, and filtration experiment, humongous failure, don't bother, just do it properly like proper people do it. So the filtration experiment didn't work. I suppose what I'll have to do is just do my little tap thing there, and try and get a little aquarium pump and move it around, move the wort around that way. But it was worth trying, one go. One thing I will say is, if you had a bit more patience than me and maybe wanted to do it for 15 or 20 minutes, one thing to look out for, it's really, really messy. And before I start this boil off, I'm going to have to clean up because there's wort everywhere, and it's going to get sticky if I don't clean it. Right, so we're getting to the boil stage now, and just because I saw a stupid video on YouTube the other day, what I'm going to do this time is, rather than just use one hop, I'm going to use two. So I have here a bag of Citra. There's about 50 grams there. I'm not going to use all that though. I'm going to use 0.6 of an ounce, or 15 grams at 45 minutes, because I'm not a fan of particularly bittery hoppy beers, but I'm going to try that because those are quite strong. They're high in alpha acids, like 13%, something like that, which is meant to be quite strong. And then I'm going to finish it off 10 minutes and 5 minutes with 0.2 of an ounce at both those times of the Amarillo, which is a bit citrusy as well, which is what I like. So we've done the boil. We did 45 minutes, 6.6 of an ounce of Citra, 10-15 grams of Citra at 45 minutes, and then at 10 and 5 minutes we did 0.2 of an ounce, or 5 grams of Amarillo. We've cooled it down in the sink with some running water, got it down to 22-ish, which is good considering it's been 28 degrees here for since I can remember, so I don't know, since I was a kid. So here's the brew anyway. So we'll just test the gravity of it, and hoping for 1054, which is what we've had before. And I tell you what, peeps, if you want a starting gravity of 1054, do 5 litres of water with a kilo of Maritota, 250 grams of Vienna malt, and sparge with 2.25 to get a pre-boil volume of 7.25 litres. Boil for an hour, cool it down, and you will get 1054. So I have been, I think it was my 5th brew day today. I'm 80%, I'm 4 out of 5 on 1054. And so hopefully the yeast will do its bit, and we'll try and get it down to 110 or 112, around there-ish, that'd be good. That's 5.5, 5.8-ish percentage of alcohol. What I'm thinking of doing is, because it's so cloudy still, is moving it after a couple of days to another fermenter. I'm not sure the oxygen will be too much of a problem because the yeast will still be working and growing. So it might just give, the 2 days might just give it a bit of time to settle out. So that's what I'm going to do. It's just a quick recap. The filtration experiment was hopeless, and don't bother. I'm going to get myself a ball valve and a little aquarium pump, and maybe do a bigger batch, maybe 7.5 litres. That'd get me over the top of the false bottom. Although, because it's double bolted, I can change the height of the false bottom, so I might just be able to drop it a little bit. Have a quick taste of this muddy water. Hey up, cat. Smell, you can definitely smell this, it's really strong smell of hops. Definitely smell the Citra, definitely smell the Amarillo, definitely smell that. Let's have a quick taste. And whoa, that's quite a full-bodied flavour, really. It's still quite sweet, as I suppose it would be, being that it's just mashed. But yeah, it's got potential, I think. So we'll pop it in the fermenter, give it a couple of days, maybe change it over, see if we can clear it out. Auto siphon it with maybe a hot bag, something like that on the end of the auto siphon, clear out some of the taste, maybe clear up the wort a bit, and then bottled in a week. See you in 4 or 5 weeks after that.